aren't always there quite yet. Perhaps, maybe we're aligning across everywhere on the net. I'm not too entirely sure. I could be entirely unsure, but I choose to be less sure. Well, anyways, we're getting closer to the point of the time of the day. It's only seconds away. I'm pretty sure you're seeing it the way I am. And, well, welcome to the show, everybody. That's right. We're here again for you guys. Let me turn that off. I just realized that's still playing. To the show. That's a little bit of music of mine that was just going in the background. We don't mind when I did that in the opening, so we could get stuff situated. And I am getting, believe it or not, right now I'm getting the chat situated. So if you are seeing this anywhere on any platform, if you'd run over to the YouTube and you look for the Bitcoin Live debut here on YouTube, you'll actually be able to comment on here and show up in the screen. That's kind of the beauty of what we're about to be doing here in a few more seconds. And I know you saw what it says at the beginning. I know you saw that title, so that's probably what brought you in. So let's just kind of get into it while we're talking about it. Seriously, like, are Bitcoin transactions rigged against us? I'm seeing more and more people question it, wondering, asking, and even I'm starting to wonder. I guess that's kind of the reason I'm starting to wonder. Is it really? Like, is it really? I don't know. I see. It's like Ordinals is ruining Bitcoin, and I remember people saying ETFs are ruining Bitcoin, and then it was like exchanges were ruining Bitcoin. And so now I'm just really going, is it the transaction? Is it just set up against us anyways? And I think that's what we're here to find out. So let's go ahead and get into it. You'll see we have a different sponsor over there in the corner. If you want to go ahead and scan that, visit them, see what's up, you always can. But I think it's about time we get a crack-a-lackin' on today's episode. Well, thank you. Thank you, Roundly X, for that video. Thank you, Shieldfolio, for sponsoring today's episode. Let's go ahead and get on it, because we got a great thing to kind of consider, think about, and go over. Because like I said earlier, I have seen posts of like various different things were ruining Bitcoin, and we were really questioning, could it be just a transaction? And at the same time that someone actually posted a very specific post, I actually got 98-cent transaction fees on Bitcoin twice in a row. And this is at a time frame when other people were paying about $5 a transaction. And so at this point, it's like, we kind of need to show you the difference. We need to show you what's going on. We need to show you why people are saying this, or, you know, how they're saying this, blah, blah, blah. And then we need to show you how we got it, how we did it, how we were able to actually process 98-cent transactions on Bitcoin. And we're going to use some of these transactions in real time, like the actual transactions from the block that we transacted in, as, you know, evidence to show you how these transaction fees really play out amongst the system. Because it really does seem like it's up. We're all up against a rock and a hard place. That's what it definitely seems like. And I don't want you guys to think it isn't seeming like that. So first off, I want to jump into it. Let me drop out this bookmark bar. I'm going to put up a QR just like you see up there. So if while you're playing along, you can at any point in time just scan and jump into wherever we're at. Like, for example, here's today's sponsor, Shieldfolio. Thank you again, Shieldfolio, for sponsoring us. And let's jump into everything we're doing, because it's going to be a fun one. Okay, the first one we want to look at today is, again, like I said, people were posting things about how Bitcoin is dying. At the same time, I was getting 98 pence transactions. So what is going on. So as we see here, we are literally running out of Bitcoin. The ETF spot 10x more than the new Bitcoin supply yesterday. Bitcoin is the only asset on earth. You can't make more of it as the demand goes up. Well, no freaking no. We've been saying this for years. But people are just now starting to figure it out that this is a real deal thing. And if you actually click on the video, the lady actually is...
Bitcoin ETFs are Bitcoin's mind. A supply squeeze is literally...
So, she's just basically showing you, look, ETFs bought 9,163 Bitcoin yesterday, but yesterday only 900 Bitcoin was generated, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so people actually believe that like these ETFs and stuff are buying up the brand new Bitcoins being generated, so there are no brand new Bitcoins for people, but they're actually buying off old Bitcoins. That's the thing that a lot of people, that this lady doesn't want to tell you. She doesn't want to say, well, they're buying off Bitcoins that's on the market. They don't want to tell you that. So you can go here and actually see what I had to say, which was basically, look, every time I turn around, something new is doing this. Something new is either taking up all the transactions, causing transaction fees to spike, or buying up all the Bitcoin. We've actually heard this one about buying all the Bitcoin supply before. Last time it was with exchanges, and people just make up new reasons to fearmonger. And, I mean, to be honest, this is the sentiment that we see all the time, but this fear-mongering we're seeing more and more often in general. So, I guess to say, expect more of it, so to speak. Thank you, Bro Civ. Awesome, glad you're liking the show. It's definitely a fun one, because we got stuff like this to talk about, bro. Will Ordinals destroy Bitcoin? Now, exactly, I bring this up. This was from like last year, in September last year, and this is basically showing the exact same thing. It's someone, other company, saying, hey, look, this new thing people are doing is going to destroy Bitcoin. And in reality, a lot of this is just to get people to stop getting into Bitcoin. That's why a lot of these are made. I don't know what this lady here was doing her thing for. She says Crypto T. So go check her out. Maybe find out what she does. I don't actually know. But the point is, she's bringing up the same kind of trope and talk that we've seen thousands of times before. You know, Bitcoin's only died 1,000,000 times. So I was looking around, trying to figure out how can I show you guys. So here we have a historical lookup. So this is actually from February 1st, 2020 to a month before that last article we just looked at last year. And if we just go through here, we can see very quickly, people not too long ago were talking about how the Bitcoin supply is shrinking, and they were blaming it on the fact that the demand went up and exchanges were just buying it out. And so, believe it or not, like, this is something we've already heard before, just not that long ago, too. And we also heard it again in, like, 2017. We heard it again in 2019. I mean, it's going to keep coming up. Okay. So, I said we sent out some Bitcoin. That's right. Last week, or actually 2 weeks ago or something, last episode, we did giveaway, we did one on air, we did a hidden answer somewhere in the episode, and we did all through Twitter, we did these giveaways. So here's one of them right here. What's the inverse of Bitcoin? This was the hidden answer in the episode. I'm going to go ahead and you can go up there, check us out. This is one of the places you can watch us on Twitter, Bitcoin Live, the NFT Liberty Peoples. So we go down, we can actually see this person right here. Inverse of Bitcoin is IBTC or USD index. And it turns out this person's English is not their first language. So I understand the confusion, because I did mention both of these things, but I didn't say the USD index is the inverse. IBTC only tracks the difference between the inverse previously and the inverse today. It's a little confusing there. It's an inverse of the inverse, or it's a difference of the inverse. There we go. So, but he technically won. He was the only one that actually came up with the correct answer out of everyone who did, put in. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to everybody who actually put in, because there was more than just Mr. Ryan. And as you can see, one of the accounts, okay, so the only other account that we had ended up getting, that might be a temporary thing. I was talking to him just the other day. So, okay. I wanted to give everybody a shout out who actually did participate, because, well, we had a few people go in, and that was awesome for you guys to jump in and give this your best. And so Mr. Ryan right here, OX Ryan 27, and here's the other giveaway we did. Go over here, check it out, because we got some really great answers. I gotta work on that bot. Sorry, my muter bot, it goes nuts. So anyways, Mr. Gerald, here we go, was a winner. He was the first one to come up with a unique token. That was one of the key points here. It had to be unique. It's something I said in episode. But XBTC synthetic token. That's pretty cool. I really like that ideal. And you see here he got his thing very quickly. And you'll notice that he actually technically received a little over $50, so same as the other. And I'll tell you why that happened here in a second. So we said hello, blah, blah, blah. And we had some other people. So I want to go see if we can find more people who participated. Do it again. So this one was one I really, really liked. If she would have commented a Bitcoin address, I would have actually sent her a little bit of extra free Bitcoin just for the comment, because this is actually the type of synthetic tokens that we would really expect to see on an actual chain, because this is the type of synthetic token that's really useful. We could track the decline of real fiat in real time and give you a token to try to offset the balance of what you've lost in real time. That's awesome. Would love to see that one. So Miss Chica, let's give you guys a shout out again. QR is how you can find her. Also, information is right above me. So let's go, keep on going. I wanted to, this is what we're doing. Okay, we're going in. We got Gerald. Make sure I get back to Gerald. Yes. QR, information above me. That's probably bond. And, yep, that's one of the other ones. Okay, so thanks to everybody that I can say hello to, give a shout out for. So keep that in mind. You know, next time you guys do something, you guys might just get a shout out. You never know. So we're just gonna keep going. So basically, this is one of the transactions. This was one of the sins we sent to the person. Here it is, and so we can see the full amount of everything that was sent was, it was a batch transaction. So it wasn't like we were just sending to one individual user. But if you notice, the batch transaction only has a minimal number of endpoints. It's got one input, two outputs. Cool. That's really useful. That is one of the reasons why we were able to get such a low transaction fee. We were doing something called, I did something called chain sending. I sent a transaction, which OP returns sends a transaction, which OP returns sends a transaction. And that then allows me to get all my sends very nice and neat in an orderly fashion. So we can see we have these sends going out. And we can see exactly where it went. We can actually see that today, according to the blockchain, the money that we sent these people, if they were still holding on to it, would actually be worth more money today. And the transaction fee, even today, with a higher, like the Bitcoin is worth more now than it was then, it's only $1.14 at 13 sats per virtual byte. That's actually very, very low. I generally pay 70 sats per byte, which I believe is something like almost 20 sats per virtual byte. So we're doing quite well. This was optimized to the T for the transaction. And so we're going to keep on going. I want to give you guys some tools to figure out how to figure out your transaction fee. For example, our transaction fee at the time was $1. Well, now is $1.14. What was it then? What was 1846 sats at the time? So we can actually go to a site like this Coin Codex, and we can actually bring up the previous transactions. And if we go down here we go, February 26th, we can see the range that it most likely was between was somewhere between 51 and 54. Most likely, I did not catch this, but we can still check against it to see if I did. So we'll do a converter. So this one is a fun one. it's only good for about a week. So if we're lucky, it might still be here. Yes, it is. So last time it was on here, I just haven't refreshed this page. But we can see that this amount of Bitcoin, the average for the day was $1. That's not bad. I paid 98 cents or 98 pence per. So according to this version, there's a good chance I paid right around $1 that day. But if we want to actually check, we can just use a calculator. We can take the cost of the Bitcoin, multiply it by the amount of the Bitcoin, and we get it a value. Right here, we took, if we go back over here, I believe it's 51,691, 51,691. So the high for the day, or the open of the day, at the time of open, which you can see is probably closer to the time that I actually did it, sometime between open and the high for the day, because the open was at 95 pence. And then if we go back and we say 54,900 was the high, so for we can see the high most likely would have been $1.01. So we definitely had been somewhere between $1.01 and 95 pence. And that's about what we're looking for. And if we went for the low for the day, just to see if we hit the low, which I know we didn't, would have been 94 pence. Wow. So no, I didn't even hit the low for the day. That's fine. But this just shows you how we can actually determine what we paid then. That also can help us determine how much Bitcoin we sent at the time of, and everything in between. Like for this main transaction, we can copy that. We can go right back to the calculator and throw it in there one more time, and we can actually find out at the time of about how much money it was worth at the time we sent it. And if we want to be more technical and jump back to the open, because I was around the open at the time of sending, we can see it was roughly $54 in USD value. And that's awesome. So I wanted to make sure you guys know how to do this, because when you're trying to figure out how much you're sending and stuff, you might need to actually do this kind of math. For example, if we just took this and, I don't know, flipped it around with a division symbol, we might be able to get a different kind of number. And it's not actually set up like that, but you'd have to put in like $50 worth. There we go. There's $50 worth of Bitcoin at that value point. And now you can figure out how much money you need to send, how much you're getting, and you can also check your transaction fee. So if it says it's 17 sats a byte, you can figure out how big your thing is, multiply that sats per byte by the number of bytes, boom, now you can, and then you can take that number, figure out the price of it, and guess what your actual transaction cost is going to be. This will allow you to be able to determine and set and understand your own transaction fee. This is a very important thing to learn how to do. And I know it's a little bit of math, but it's fine. So, I mean, surely there's no other way to check, right? There's no other, wait a minute, actually there's this other thing called Blockchair, which actually shows you the cost of everything at the time of send. So we can see at the time of send, if we look up here, it actually says 6 days ago. This information on the side is time of send, USD at the time of transaction. USD value at the time of transaction. So according to them, I paid 95 pence. And my total transaction, the whole batch transaction, was 200. So even some of the data here is slightly different. We can see the sats per byte or per V byte is the same, but they also have different types of ways to determine the cost, like the actual weight of the transaction and the actual size of the transaction. Those are two different things. We can see the block number, all sorts of different things. But is there more? Absolutely. We can. That's the additional info for one. So for two, we can actually get the transaction receipt. Now, to make sure you guys have this block share information real fast. Now let's go view that receipt. Here is the receipt. If we look on here in the receipt, we do have the block number, which chain, all the different little, where it came from, the actual information, timestamp, everything you would want. Disclaimer, nice. They have really great receipts. And if you're wanting to be very super technical with your IRS and your taxes and stuff, block share receipts might just be your way to go. And then also export your CSVs on your wallets. And now here we can actually break it down. We can see the physical miner fee. That's what I really like about this. It gives you both of these right side by side. And so we can even go through and say, well, there's the physical transaction, there's the rest of my batch transaction, and we can keep on going. Cool. So, here are transactions. These are real transactions from the block we transacted in. Because I don't know if you noticed this, but we transacted in this block right here, which is this block right here. So what I wanted to show you guys is the examples, real transactions, because I can sit here for a million years and I can tell you all the rules and ways and tips and tricks and things about saving yourself some money, but it's only going to work so well. At some point, you just need to, unfortunately, look at some stuff and see how things affect things. So the first thing I want to show you is how input versus output can affect your fee. For example, we have a 1 on 3, 1 to 3, sending around $250 with a very low fee. And if we keep going, and we just go, okay, so I think we're actually set up by low fee. Let us set up by input count. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, they think I'm a robot. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so by input count. So if we see the ones with the high input versus really low output has an insane transaction fee. So basically what happens is every input count you have, every input that you're trying to cycle into a single output, you have to pay a fee for each one of those, technically. And I say that because you are technically, according to the chain, what IP says, you are performing 692 transactions in this single transaction. You are taking 691 transactions and transacting them as a transaction into one. So, the more inputs you need to create an output, the automatic higher your fee will be. The other problem is if all your inputs, all your different UTXOs are from various different types of wallets, they're not all the same type of wallet, your transaction fee is going to be higher because data has to be adjusted, shifted, and moved to accommodate for wherever you're sending to. And that just means that it makes your transactions bigger if all your inputs are not from the same type of wallet schemes. If they don't have the same signature types, then you will have to inflate your signature later. So now let's do it from output count. As we see, the output count can be higher, much higher, then the input count and the transaction fee will be nominally less compared to doing it the other way around. If let's try to find a 200 here. Here's a 205 at 0.019. Here's a 201 at 0.011. It's still nominally lower. It's almost a magnitude lower. Not quite, getting there. So it does show that they are going to both cause that problem of cost. If you can get a 1-to-1, you're probably doing yourself a favor. And as you can see, they do exist. They're harder to get, but they do exist. And even on this one, this was not a very optimized transaction, obviously. Most likely going from one type of signature to a different type of signature, and most likely going to legacy. That's the other problem here. If you're going to a legacy wallet, which almost all of your exchanges is going to be legacy, almost all of your main API systems are going to be some form of legacy wallet, which it might be an HD legacy, which will be SegWit capable. Those ones can be good, because those can definitely, there's stuff that you can do there to lower your transaction fee when transacting to them. But going to legacy, it's a 1-to-1 on the key ratio pair, and like true legacy, and so that will always give you a higher transaction cost. You going from that or to that, even though that is considered the trifecta best way to store long term. There are downfalls to that. If you're not going to prepare to have a lot of funds in that long-term storage, you might screw yourself over trying to exit those funds. So what else can we do? Well, let's look at some of the lower end transaction fees, see what the heck they are doing. Because if we really pay attention, we can get some amazing stuff. For example, we can see this $5 million transaction only paid $330 US worth in fees. Now, a lot of people would be like, dang, bro, that's really freaking expensive. It is one of the higher input count ones, which makes sense. So let's reverse this. Let's just look at the lows. Well, we can see there is a free transaction. Like, there should at least be one free transaction. That is the block reward. Okay. I don't even have to say anything else. I can prove that to you. We can just zoom over. The next lowest we got, a 247 transaction for 34 pence. Nice. We got a 1200 for 50 pence. If we just keep loading more, we're going to start seeing stuff very quickly where there are people, like for example this $61 for 73 pence, not super good. But like this $20,000 for 74 pence, that's an insanely great transaction. What did they do? They kept it simple, stupid. They kept it simple, stupid. Most likely, if they have anything going to legacy, it's the OP return. But based on that 74 pence, this is all SegWit. This is a double SegWit transaction. It's SegWit to SegWit to SegWit. There's nothing else involved here. So SegWit is definitely going to lower fees. Taproot will make your combined input-output fees lower compared to like SegWit or compared to legacy. But that will get us something here in a minute. We'll come back to this. There's more. So we had two transactions. I want to give you both transactions. I don't want you to think we're hiding anything. You can actually see this second transaction was it the exact same? I think it's almost the exact same block. It's the exact same block. Both of these were posted at two different times. Both got the exact same block. And both were SegWit. So we can see they both have the exact same fee amount. So they both paid the same fee. They both sent basically the exact same amount. So we can see the weight's basically the same. This one is slightly bigger than the other one because this is from the chain. And yeah, it's actually really good data. We're not going to view any more parts of it. You don't really need to. It's just proves that this can be done multiple times in a row in a time frame when other people are just paying. Well, let's just show you the insane transaction fees some of these people are willing to pay. You'll realize very quickly that fee is kind of your choice. I mean, not always, but to some extent, it is your choice. When you're picking you can pick your own UTXOs to make sure you only pick UTXOs that are going to be compatible for wherever you're sending to. And then as we keep going down this list, you're probably noticing more and more the transaction fees are getting lower and lower very quickly. Very quickly, because again, transaction fees are mostly your decision. Here's an $11 million transaction for $12 fee. I'm sure whoever did this, they're not complaining a less than 1% transaction fee. They're probably happy right now. Look at this, $18 million. Well, no, it's 18,000. This one is the 11 million. So we can see that it's really about how you use it. It's really about how you use it. It really is. And now we just got to keep going. Okay, so I tried looking up this question here because I'm figuring anybody who watches this is their next step. They watch this episode, they go, how to optimize my transaction? Boop, boop. And I went through some of these. No, don't. Almost everything I read was like, wait, don't transact right now. Let's go to this one. I literally just picked on the first one that I know I've been to already. Alright. Oh, this one's from the future. Ah, that's ad above it. Hey, how they do that. February 26th this year. Transaction fee on average is $23. It's like a fear mongering. They're scaring you with meme pool information and transaction fees. So where they say wait it out, just don't transact. And there's some point to that, but then they were like, oh no, use some other option. Well, use another option that you didn't prepare for in the first place. And it's like, well, I didn't prepare for it. So a lot of this stuff is kind of like stupid stuff. So I wanted to give you guys something that you could really go on. I put it on IPFS. It's having problems getting across the network. There it is if you can get it. If not, prepare your screenshots because boop, here's your to-dos and your to-don'ts. Yeah, I actually went out and made you guys do's and don'ts. And if you're looking, each do actually somewhat corresponds to each don't to help you remember this stuff. So, know your transaction. I wanted to say know your wallet, but that's still not correct. It really is know your transaction. Hold on a second, let me see. Okay, so know your transaction. Are you sending to an exchange or self-custody wallet? That's why I said it's know your wallet, but really not. Because when you know what wallet you're sending to, whether it's a personal wallet or an exchange wallet, or even if they were like, oh, it's an automated wallet, we know anything like that, then we know how to set up our transaction. We don't want to exchange transact. What's an exchange transact? That is literally using an exchange as a wallet for when you make standard transactions to somebody else. Sending money to somebody like I did with the giveaway, or even like purchasing something online with Bitcoin. You don't go from exchange to transaction. You use a buffer wallet to go from exchange to the receiver of any transaction. Because when you're exchanging, you're trading. You're going from one thing to another. You don't want them to know who you're transacting with because the transactor might not deal with them. And that's a personal choice of yours, not the receiver. You got to think more about the receiver when you're dealing with cryptocurrency in a whole. Check previous 2 blocks. Basically, check the fee average trend. Is it trending down or trending up? If you check the previous 2 blocks and you see the fee average went up, that's the total fees minus the number of transactions, or divided by the number of transactions. If it goes up, maybe you'd actually chill out. An example for why I say that, I'll give you later. Stay peaked. Don't optimize for you. It's one of the reasons why we check the previous 2 blocks. That's to optimize for you. Checking the previous 2 blocks. We don't optimize the transaction for you. We always optimize for the receiver. A transaction size will be generally smaller this way if, however we send our transaction, if our signature hash is in similar regards to whatever signature hash they're going to use to spend that fund that next time when they use it for whatever they need to. Use off-peak hours. Take a couple days. If you're not already looking at the chain and you don't already know when the peak activity is on chain, and basically what you can do is you can just find sites that say, like one of the ones we showed you earlier, there should be a thing that shows you like number of transactions per block throughout the day, so you can see like where in the day, for your point in time, it's moving around. One of the things I did notice that I wanted to point out at this point, I noticed for Bitcoin, BTC specifically, all 5 USA mornings, so about 1.5 hour periods per every 2 hours, starting around 7 a.m. Eastern time, there is a peak in there. And then for all first world countries, morning periods of their first 4 hours between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. also cross peak hours. So there you go. That's a very fun one that it took some time to figure out, and maybe for your specific area and specific days it might change some, but something to think about. So don't be scared from greed. A little loss from transaction fees today is okay. Set up an allowed percentage shift. So I don't want this to sound like I'm saying high transaction fees are great, man. What I'm saying is, if someone sends money to you, you're receiving funds from somebody, and it's like less than 1% short because the Bitcoin value changed from the time they sent it to the time you received it, so therefore the transaction fee cut into your part. Don't let that greed hurt you later. Like a little bit. Like I know some people will go up to 8% difference. Like I'm cool with losing 8% because of random shit. And what they'll do is they'll just put that money off to the side and wait for that money to be up past that percent of loss before they even bother to look at it again. They just consider how to recoup their loss because it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin will recoup its loss on its own, just by demand, like we were seeing with this one lady. Which, this lady, if anything, is only pointing out the fact there's a higher demand than ever before for Bitcoin, which is true. There is. So don't let the little greed today hurt you tomorrow. Because, I mean, you could easily just go, yeah, it's not a good transaction, and the person on the other end is like, alright, send me back my money. And they're going to be fine with losing that extra transaction bit. They just want they're going to move on. So, force SegWit. If you can force receiver SegWit, it will lower your transactions to exchanges and legacy transaction fees. So, unlike my wallet, I can actually click a button in the settings that says if the receiver's wallet can handle it, for SegWit, and it would just sign to a SegWit address that is equivalent to their public address, and they just receive it as a transaction. It doesn't look any different on their end. It only looks different on the transaction. And so And this is like really great for when you are being forced to have to send to an exchange, or someone who only wants to accept from an exchange or something like that, or an automated service or something like that. This is a really great way to just, in general, lower transaction fees. You don't have to be a SegWit liker to do this, or a SegWit user to do this. Really freaky. So don't reuse receiving wallets. So you'll notice that when you're forcing a SegWit, you can actually like have an address that you're forcing SegWit with on sending transactions, and then you might be realizing that you can have multiple public addresses for that same one. Don't do that. No, no. If you're receiving funds, just create a brand new wallet for that receiving of funds every single time. Even if you show up on your thing and you see a wallet, just create a new one anyways. Don't reuse receiving wallets. Generate a new wallet. This can allow you to basically optimize your transactions more. So you're about to receive money from someone. You can basically find out what kind of wallet they have. Like, hey, do you SegWit? Do you use Do you use Taproot? Do you use? You don't need to know exactly what wallet. You just need to know what kind of signature they're going to use. And then you find out what kind of signature they're using. Then you can create a receiving wallet that will actually make the transaction fee lower. If they can send it to you with a lower transaction fee, then all of you both are gonna be happy. They won't have a problem spending Bitcoin to you, and you'll be able to, if you're a business or something like that, this is gonna be your way to get people to come back using Bitcoin. To have it set up to always optimize for your customer in this case. I know it's against one things I said earlier, so don't optimize for you. In this case, we are optimizing for the customer, even though we are the receiver, if in that case. But in this case, it also, any previous transaction in the chain of transactions for your UTXO can actually, the bigger they are in the past, more likely the bigger they're going to be in the future. It's just a general rule of thumb. It's not actually a true statement. General rule of thumb. Set your own fee range. Let me move it anyway. Set your own fee range. Right here. So, fee is your choice. Use a range if you're scared. Dead serious. Fee is your choice. If it says you recommended you pay $55 right now on the feed, doesn't mean you gotta pay $55 for the feed. You can put 55 cents. Some like some chains like Ethereum and stuff, they're more designed to not allow that. They're going to want this minimum and blah, 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 blah. Bitcoin, you can still do that. And that's the point in Bitcoin. You're supposed to be able to do stuff like that. Don't fall into peer pressure. Sometimes those wallet apps that you have, they give you peer pressure and they're making you think that you need to pay a higher transaction fee because everybody else is. The average transaction fee looks high. Just wait a bit. Here's the reason why I say this. Okay? Because there's an actual reason why I am saying this versus why everybody else says just don't transact. If you wait a bit, say for example you're like, oh, transaction fee is high. If I want to pay 13 cents per virtual byte, then I'm looking at an hour-long transaction. If you're looking at an hour-long transaction, wait half an hour, come back and see if it's the same fee setup. If it's still the same fee setup, oh well, pay then. If it's not, and you're seeing, oh well, you know what, fee's gone down a little bit. Maybe I do that 13 virtual byte, blah blah blah. Maybe I do that lower transaction right now. It won't actually take an hour. Like when I put in for both of my transactions when I was sending, it said on the app, it was recommending I pay $5. So I have a way where I can adjust my fee range. And I said, well then allow it to do a higher range. And the way I have it set up on mine, when I allow it higher, I just have it pulled out of the transaction when I want to do this. I say, alright, instead of it being the amount of money I want for the transaction plus the fee, just do it all as a group. And then I set a slightly more amount in the transaction. And then I let the fee do its thing. And that's what I did with these, and that's why each person we sent to actually received a little bit more than $50. They actually received $50 plus the fee allowance minus the fee. And since the fee ended up only being, I said, hey, look, my goal was 70 sats per byte, and I'll let it do its thing, and it was able to get down under that. I'm happy. I'm happy. Still spent the same, Didn't bother me none, but it was guaranteed they were going to get what they were wanting. If you want to guarantee it, there's a way to do that. If you don't want to guarantee it, but you still want to adjust, you can do that. Because if you're looking at it, lowering it, the fee down to the lower amount might take an hour. Half an hour later, it might not. It might take 10 minutes. I got both of my transactions within the minute. Because I just sat there and watched transactions, and I set up a timer, and every time it hit, I would click, and then, you know, the computer is watching it, how many times it does it, and it figures out the difference between, and then it starts setting up that timer. And if I don't have to click the timer to activate it, then I'm clicking it to turn it off. It's more accurate, and then I just have it, next time it goes off, I click the button to send. So I get to a point where it's starting to go off, and I don't have to click it. I'm actually clicking the button to turn off the timer. And that's when I click, next time it goes off, I click the button to send. And basically what I'm doing is I'm setting it up to tell me when the next block is. And what you actually do is you set it to be a minute under the block. And so it's set up in the math that it's going to be doing under a minute. So you click the button because it hit, and it goes, okay, we need to back down 60 seconds. 6 seconds later, it hit, okay, we're at. And then you get to a point where it goes off, you click the button, you send, and you have up to a minute to hit the block. And this stuff really does work. You can really do this, which is, believe it or not, why we have this one right here, plan ahead. Let me see if I can make this any bigger. Plan ahead. If you don't need the transaction right now, then you can wait. Try coin purse multi-sig for stores. If you have a store, or you're about to go in a store, see if they have a coin purse system with multi-sig. All that means is that you and the company are going into a multi-sig, you both go in, you both need to transact to get out. That's it. Put money in it, and now you can have immediate transactions because they can see you have money there. And when you are signing a transaction to spend less than the full amount, they can only sign to accept the less than full amount. So you both cannot, you don't have to worry about getting screwed over if it's done well. Which also comes to, don't uncomfy send. No matter who you're sending to, this is also your transaction. You should approve the transaction, not just the receiver. So if you get to a point where you're like, bro, I just can't feel comfortable enough sending to you, then don't send that person, figure something else out and do something else, because it's your transaction too. You don't have to transact that time, that day, that person, that way. It's all up to you. And if you haven't figured it out, that's the real goal of the day. Bitcoin transactions are not really rigged against us, but the applications we use are. The applications we use sometimes hide secret payment transactions, payment or transaction fees set up that you can't see, that you actually have to go through the blockchain to find. These are really like, those say they're outgoing transactions, they might have return send or multiple sends without. So, you know, earlier we were looking at some that would say like 1 in, 5 out. Some might say 5 in, 5 out. And you might have been expecting like a 1 in, 2 out. And if you go check, it might be a 1 in, 3 out. And that's when you're like, okay, now I know we're getting screwed or something's going on that we're not expecting. You know, so I wanted to show you guys how can you figure this stuff out, because sometimes the applications we use are not going to tell us the truth, and we need to verify it. We need to verify what we're using. Don't just trust what we see. Verify what it's telling us. So many wallets are set up to not show dust amounts. So for example, if you're getting an extra transaction that's considered a dust amount from your wallet, it's not going to show up because the wallet's set up to not show dust amounts. And so you need to go to Explore to actually find that transaction, to actually find that fee, to actually see that you are being charged money to use that wallet. I know these are very like rare occasions. Normally if it's wallet's doing that, it's a scam, but to be honest, you need to know how to find it if it's happening to you, because it's really easy for a wallet to just say the average transaction fee is $5. You pay $5 in a fee, but they only paid 98 pence on the transaction chain. The chain only has a 98 pence transaction fee. It's easy as heck to do, because they just have to take your signature and sign it into another transaction signature that adjusts the transaction fee after that. I'm not too super technical about how that fully is done, but I believe that's before SegWit. So blank, that's a legacy accounts only that can actually do something like that. So and or it might be an extended public wallet could also do that, because then they are given enough information for them to actually create your private key, and they can just then sign a secondary. They can sign another transaction to just counteract yours and hope they get theirs in first. But normally you go up in the fee, not reverse. So the transaction, you really got to be paying attention to your transactions. That's what I'm trying to say. It's check on the chain. This is why this is why we always say don't trust, verify. It really is a do that you got to do. All right. If you have a time, a set, or a schedule, and you can't wait a day or two for what's going on, for what's happening next, then you can't really complain about your transaction fee. So if you don't want to be complaining about your transaction fee, you need to somehow plan ahead. Either have bumper funds, buffer funds, bumper wallets. You got to figure that out on your own, how you can plan ahead for your situations in life. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own thing. And I can't explain to you how you can do yours. Me, I use gift cards as buffers. I buy gift cards when I have extra money. I use them when I need them. Boom, done. You're roasted. But again, your transaction is your choice. If you get meme-walled for an hour or two, oh well, next time just plan ahead better. Or use the coin purse systems, or whatever. Maybe that Lightning wallet idea wasn't the best possible way to go. Maybe just waiting a little bit longer and spending or sending at a different time could have helped you. I mean, sometimes the fee we pay really is a vanity more than anything. Especially since you can actually choose not to pay a fee at all on Bitcoin still to this day. You might have to mine it to get it, but believe it or not, it's still not required. It's just, everybody wants to get their transaction in a little bit sooner. Everybody wants to get their transaction in a little bit faster. Everybody wants their thing a little bit whatever. But very rarely do you see the people pushing to do it. Well, that's what's next.